there's been this conversation in the media, at least, about how, the logo isn't as important now as it used to be. And I wonder, do you think that's true? And does that mean there's been a real shift in terms of the way that how much power a brand has in order to influence a customer?
Well, for us, we're global, so we look, while the logo might not be as important domestically, in China and in Japan, people are still very much about a logo, probably more so China. So it's interesting. You really sort of have to look at it, in an organic way and sort of talk about the various regions. But I think that, I think everything shifts. And you sort of have this cycle of kind of every 10 years, things change. And we were all about a logo, really, for a very long time. And so it's natural for us to sort of come away from that a little bit now. And also people, you have a younger generation of people who really want their own identity. And they really want to feel like they're representing their own style. So you want to be able to create something that can work within someone's individual style and not have them feel like they're so labeled. Because I think that's really what people are coming away from a little bit.
Do you have you seen any? I mean, Guild Group is younger, but I just wonder in terms of logo, have you noticed anything about that?
Well, I think a lot of the brands are scaling back a little bit on logos, but I think in the past, say, year and a half, with what's happening in the economy and a lot of customers wanting to be a little bit more discreet in terms of how they're spending money, if they still, in fact, are spending money, I think maybe being a little bit more subtle and not wearing blatant logos kind of makes sense, and we've certainly seen that. But I think there's probably always a customer for a logo. So.
I think you guys are a great example because you have a very specific logo, but it's not necessarily in an ostentatious way. But people want to feel, they want people to know that that's what they're wearing.
Yeah, and when we first started 10 years ago, the logo was. Right now it's 3/8 and it used to be 1.5 inches. It was big, so I can spot the older garments out there a mile away. But we reacted to that over the last couple years and just making it a little bit more smaller, a little bit more subtle, putting it in areas where you could spot it, but it wasn't in your face. So we did react to that, but we're not going to get rid of it. I think people still want it on their garment.
Did you experience much resistance at all, Alexandra, from designers in terms of creating exclusive product for the site, or was it a really easy thing to sell, or how did that process work?
Well, nothing's easy. No, I think we really, when we work with a brand, we really partner with them. We want to invest in them. We create business plans with them, talking through how many times a year we would sell the brand across different product categories if that's relevant. So in some cases, some of our tried and true brand partners, they're excited to create limited edition collections for us, or even some designers at the kind of designer price point, they're scared to go full force into launching a diffusion line, but they talk about it with us. So I think it depends on the brand and their resources and if they've done a Target deal already or not. So I think with the right brands that are innovative and strategic, it hasn't been difficult, but nothing's easy.
I'm also just curious about, can you name 2 things that are very different about the Japanese, engaging the Japanese consumer as opposed to the American one? I know they're a very different customer, but having spoken a little bit about global markets.
Sure. We were talking about this earlier. The mobile is very important to the Japanese customer, and we knew that when we launched. So we launched the site March this year, and a few months into the launch, we started making mobile available to the customer, and that changed the game dramatically. I think the Japanese customer is used to doing just about everything from banking to shopping to communicating through their mobile device. So that was very important to our business. And another thing which we found quite funny was our current referral strategy, which is based on word of mouth, is for an existing member we encourage them to invite their friends, and the first time one of their friends shops, the existing member would get a $25 credit into their account. Well, that didn't work in Japan, and the reason it doesn't work is it's seen as culturally a little bit aggressive, maybe taking advantage of your friends and being a little tacky almost. We're like, really? Because Americans think that's just fine. So that's something that we had to modify, and we've looked into and thought, well, maybe if you split the credits, or maybe the credit goes entirely to the friend that you're inviting, and that seems to be much more polite and respectful and generous gesture, which the customer there appreciates.
And I think in bringing up Japan, it's interesting because the CEO of eBay, I'm blanking on his name, recently said that in 2 years, 40% of all web traffic in the U.S. will be on a mobile device. That's really a huge disruption, and for everyone who is needing to, for example, work on their web strategy, well, all of a sudden that might just be 60% of the audience. And as it relates to comparing to Japan and other places, they really don't spend time on a PC. Like, the mobile device is the primary connected media browsing appliance. So unfortunately for some, needing to address a mobile web strategy becomes critical as we move into the next couple of years.
Why aren't we as advanced as the Japanese? In one word.
This is really difficult.
Is much of it due to the fragment? I mean, I would think that they'd have fragmentation in their own markets as
Sure.
well.
I mean, it's a sociological, anthropological study, of course, but one thing that occurred in Japan is the standard in Japan is unique to Japan. No other country uses their software and equipment, and so they were able to advance it at a very rapid pace and outpace the rest of the world, whereas in the U.S. we are juggling between two competing standards, and I believe that actually holds back innovation.
And there's no incentive for those standards to agree on something?
No, there'll be several more years before we see any kind of standardization here. So it's just going to lead to more fragmentation, which means either targeting, so the idea of choosing the iPhone as a particular platform means you're choosing a particular demographic, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then does it work on BlackBerry? Does it work on the new phones by Google? These are additional complexities that have to be dealt with on a business case.